Music Business, What Is This? Is a podcast that focuses on the ever-changing music industry and presents issues and concerns that the average and above average musician has or will encounter. Hey everybody, I'm Richard Johnson.
I'm Jeremiah Hunt.
This is Music Business.
What is this?
Today we're going to be talking about the vocalist, the singer, and what they bring to the gig. All right, this is always an interesting topic. The tension or non-existing tension between the vocalist and the musician. There's always this kind of, not always, but generally underlining current, how would you call it?
I would definitely say tension.
Tension, okay.
It just depends on if the singer is on the same page as the musician.
Okay, so when you say same page, what does that mean to you?
First thing that I think about are the values. What is it like when we talk about the values and when we learn about these things in band camp or music school, all these values that we're implementing as musicians, are the singers taking on those values as well?
Okay, so let's be specific. Let's get to it. That's what we're here for. What are you specifically talking about? Values?
Band sound, ensemble sound.
Ensemble sound. Okay.
I feel like, the singer has to know when the groove is there. Okay. And the singer can't just, take over a situation if the situation isn't right. I feel like there has to be some sort of protocol when it comes to playing a tune. Like the groove has to be there, the bass and drums has to be there, and the singer has to know that. The singer still has to know if if a chord is played right or wrong. If the singer can identify that if something sounds wrong, and if the singer can't identify that, hey, this person is playing this wrong,
Okay, so you're talking about making sure they have the same educational awareness or background as the instrumentalist.
Absolutely.
That's okay, and that's what I'm trying to get to. You want to make sure that just because they sing doesn't mean you're a musician. It's two different things.
Yes.
Because plenty of people can sing and have no idea what a melody is.
True.
Right. But then all of a sudden someone says, well, you have got a great voice.
Right.
Have you thought about being a singer? All right. And they say, no, I haven't. But I am now. No, it doesn't quite work like that. Right. Because you just don't pick up a trumpet and say, I'm a trumpet player now. Yeah. Right. There's a certain pedagogy you're going to have to go through if you're serious.
Right.
If not, people are not going to respect you and you are not going to get a good sound.
And we was just talking about that on another episode when we were talking about talent. Like you can have the talent of a singer. That's where people was like, oh, you sound good.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean you're a vocalist.
Not at all. It's two different things completely. And I think this is where the tension comes in that you were talking about earlier. A lot of trained instrumentalists spend time practicing hours and hours and hours. And there's lots of vocalists who didn't put in the same time to get on the same stage. And I think that's where that contention comes in. It's like, okay, you're a band leader, we're traveling around with you, but at the same time, you can't tell me where C is on the piano or do. Right? That can create tension. Yeah. Because now you could have a major artist who can sing well, that's talented, but can't really direct a group. Right. So I think that underlining tension has always come from that. Now there's a bunch of other issues surrounding that come along with it. Yeah. But I think that's one of the main ones that I've seen, and it seems like it's been lurking around for at least 100 years. Yeah. At least 100 years. Now, question for you. Have you ever tried to sing?
Yes.
And how did that work out for you?
It worked out okay.
Really?
Yeah, people actually clapped.
You still playing the bass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, I tried to sing on my own group or with my own group while I was playing bass.
And how did that go?
So it worked out well.
Really?
Yeah, people
that's like the end thing to do now, bass players to sing, and it's cool.
Thanks, Esperanza.
Right, right. I can't do it. I can barely tie my shoes. So that worked. You could do that,
but it worked out pretty well. I actually got a nice audience, and they clapped for me and everything. But I wouldn't do it again.
Why wouldn't you do it again?
Because I respect the voice too much, and for what vocalists actually do.
Okay,
vocalists who have trained in that field. Especially after I talked to a lot of my friends. I have this friend, Thomas Allen, your cousin, and he's a vocal pedagogue. And after hearing him talk about the voice and like certain muscles that are being used and, what muscle to drop and raise to make this type of sound, it's just my respect for vocalists and what they do. It's almost like it opened my ears a little bit more. And then it gives you that respect to that specific instrument, and it's like I haven't done any of that.
right. So now you're a culprit of what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to sing on my gig. Okay, great. Here you go. Take it or leave it. Oh, you think I sound good? Okay, I'm putting down the bass.
Right. Luckily, I didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's an art and it's a skill. And I don't think a lot of people respect it that way.
Right.
That's a big problem. So I know. Have you ever taken a vocal lesson?
Not formally, no.
Okay. I recommend it. Not because you're a bad singer. I'm just saying I've taken one. I took one maybe about 8 years ago. And it was work. And I should have expected it to be work because playing the piano is work. But I didn't go in thinking that way. I took a lesson with a trained opera singer. I said, I've never done this. Let me try it. Let me see what happens. Boy, we got in there for the warm up, and I was like, oh yeah, I know major thirds, minor thirds. I knew all the intervals, but the form and standing there, and I was like, after an hour of that, I was done. and that's like even with breaks because of the voice. Yeah, I had a different respect for the voice too. I was like, yo, this is for real. This is serious. Yeah. People who don't take it serious, it's a problem. And I see why when vocalists are pushed and they have to cancel, that's a legit reason. Right. I mean, because there's only so much the voice can take. It's not an instrument where you can just pound it to the ground and then get another one. Right. Because you can very easily lose it, wear it out, and now you have no gigs. So something to definitely be aware about. Now, with singing, have you ever dreamed of being a vocalist?
Yeah, all the time, yeah.
Oh, you do? Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds like it's been pretty common.
Yeah, I have my fantasies. Everybody have their fantasies of being on stage and singing their heart out. And
all right. Okay. All right. Well, you never know. We may see you turn into a vocalist one day. As a piano player, I think piano players and vocalists have a very special relationship, or they should. Because as a pianist, we are supporting them harmonically, rhythmically, and sometimes melodically, depending on how bad they are. Right. To be honest, we may have to do it all and just kind of pull them along. Right. So that relationship should be highly valued. And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. For me, it's always been an interesting study of seeing the relationship on the stage between the pianist and the vocalist and away from the stage. I found there have been some great relationships on the stage that were horrible off the stage. Yeah. And that's always baffled me because I'm like, you're making music. How is that even possible? Right. And I think underneath all of that, even with the tensions and the problems, there's some level of understanding. There has to be. I mean, how is it possible that I could play a chord and get to a fermata and they can at the same time, and then we move to the next beat just by a breath? Right? Yeah. There has to be some type of human understanding with that. And that goes both ways. You know, whether you get along or not get along, ultimately it's about the music. You know, and playing with vocalists. I love playing with vocalists. I am not the best accompanist for vocalists. It's something I'm still learning. I think it's a never-ending story, but it's something I really value, because when you hear a great one, it's unbelievable. It's really like, wow, did they rehearse that? Some people do, some don't. But I think there has to be a level of understanding between those two people and flexibility.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that goes back to where this tension comes in. Some vocalists are not flexible. It's my way or the highway and the skyway. All right. It's what I say or you go.
Right.
It's my show. And that's what, you know, the tension comes from. It's, yes, maybe it is your show, but without us, there's a no-go.
Tell them.
Right? Yeah. You stand on that stage, you can only last so long solo.
Right.
Right.
You going in.
I'm just keeping it real.
Yeah.
And some don't really understand that. Now, having said that, once again, it goes both ways.
Right.
Right? You have to have musicians who understand how to play behind a vocalist.
Right.
You know, it takes time. Very few people come out the womb being able to do that. It takes a certain level of listening and understanding. And like I said, I'm not the best at that, but I know enough to understand, okay, let me do my best and pay attention. A lot of it as a pianist is paying attention. A lot of times people want to drift off.
Yeah.
And you should never do that, but you really can't do that with a vocalist, because with their phrasing and timing, they may completely take one bar and stretch it into two, and then take the next bar and cut that in half to make up for it.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be on your P's and Q's to make sure you keep up or you fall behind in the right places. So it feels and sounds fluid, but at the same time as if it's still moving. It's like a dance.
Yeah.
You know, and if you've never done that dance, it's very rigid.
Right.
You know, so that's something you really have to pay attention to. All right. Other things about the voice or the vocalist I've noticed. The idea or the concept that a lot of vocalists are divas. The diva concept. Where do you think that came from?
I think a lot of vocalists, you know, they strive to be stars because of people who they, you know, idolized back in the day.
Yeah, I can see that.
Some of my favorite vocalists, Aretha Franklin,
Diana Ross,
Tina Turner,
Gladys
Knight.
Yeah.
Some of those people, they were divas.
Patty Austin.
Absolutely.
You know. I like Barbra Streisand.
Barbra Streisand's cool too. I love her.
Yeah, she could sing some melodies and she had a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her.
And even like in the jazz room, like Betty Carter.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Betty. Did I tell you I met Betty?
No.
Oh yeah, she was a trip.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
She
just
was,
from the stories I heard.
Yeah, she was real, and I'll leave it at that.
It's all
real.
Yeah, real.
Really real. Okay, cool. Yeah, the whole idea and the concept of the diva, a lot of times I think it's unnecessary. Some I think are acting. Some vocalists. Some I think is just part of who they are and their characters.
Right.
And I think that's why some people are accepted and others aren't. I think after a while, musicians and people know, oh, this person's acting.
Right.
Some people, they weren't, that's really who they were. If they weren't doing music and they worked at a McDonald's and they were serving burgers, they would be the exact same person. It wouldn't change. Right?
My thing is, if you're a diva, whether you're acting or not, as long as you can back it up with that voice, okay. So you think having the voice is enough to back it up? Oh, if you can play music and if you have a knowledge of, I like vocalists who can who can put themselves in the shoes of a bassist, who can put themselves in the shoes of a rhythm section or even a horn player, you know, someone who can count me off just like a horn player would. And then somebody who can just say, all right, start it, you know, and trust me to do my own thing. You know, someone who can be in that realm. If you want to have an attitude with me, cool. That's that's all right. As long as it's about the music first, right. You know, with me. So,
but that sounds kind of separate because it sounds like to me you're saying, as long as the music is on a high level, the other stuff okay. But the music's got to be on a high level. If it's not, this other stuff's got to go. This other drama. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Okay, if not, you can hit the cowbell and disagree. It's all good.
Well, it's just about, because with me, I'm not thinking, all that stuff, it goes over my head. When you're being a diva, and if you're doing, you know, whatever you do, being that diva, however you're acting, it's like I can see past all of it. You know.
Have you ever been in a dressing room with a singer and they're putting on their makeup and you can see them getting into character?
Yes.
That is if you ever have a chance to witness that, please do. It's super entertaining, and you can kind of almost see the direction of where the gig is going to go based on that. I've seen it several times. I've been musical director for different vocalists all over the world, and I've had the benefit, or depending on your perspective, I've had the drawback. But I've seen it, and I've seen some very nice people go into their headspace, and you see the change. It's like as they're doing the makeup or changing whatever, they're getting into character.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, here we go. That means now I got to get into character.
Right.
Right. Whatever that character may be, it may be a whatever you want, or it may be a I'm not dealing with. Either way, it's still a show or character. And it's very interesting to see, because usually when the gig is over or you're in a van or on a plane, they've transformed back into who they were. You know, so the whole diva concept is fascinating to me, because for some people it's like being an actor. Others, it's really who they are. And I can take that. Yeah. If that's who you are, great. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, that relationship between musicians and vocalists. Now, a vocalist can be a musician. I'm not saying that. I love the great ones. I had a chance to go to China, take a great vocalist with me. I've played with Vanessa Rubin, all kind of Sandra Wilson. It's been an amazing journey. So when you get a great one, it's like, oh man, we are here. Yeah, it's just rolling. But the thing is, you start to really suss out who's for real and who's pretending. Just like any other musician, really, when you get on a high level.
True.
What attributes do you think a musician who's an instrumentalist should have to support a vocalist that's great? Or they don't have to be great, just support a vocalist.
Yeah, the first thing is ear training for me. You have to be able to tell whether a vocalist is flat, sharp, you know.
Yeah, that's crucial, especially for me coming out of the church. Sometimes some vocalists, I won't even say vocalists, singers, they just change keys.
Right.
All over the place. One tune end up being 4 or 5 different keys. You got, okay, they're here now. These 8 bar, please help us. You know. Yeah, so the ears are crucial. What else? Anything else?
The ability to adjust.
Yeah, like flexibility.
And that goes with having ears. When you hear something that's wrong, you have to figure out, like you said, you have to figure out where they are, and then all right, you know, save the gig. You know, let's go here. Now we're here.
Right. You know, another pet peeve of mine is a lot of vocalists have a habit of not putting together a set list. I've showed up on several vocalists' gig, and they know a lot of tunes, right? And there's no set list, no idea, no clue. Now, I say it's a pet peeve, not because it bothers me musically, but if everyone else in the group doesn't know the repertoire or isn't comfortable with that, now it creates a situation of more tension, right?
Yeah.
Someone could easily say, well, they know a lot of tunes. You should know a lot of tunes. I heard that. I've grown up hearing that. Okay, I need to know a lot of tunes in different keys. I get it.
Right.
But it's more about the environment that you're creating with the other musicians.
Yeah.
And I think that can be felt by the audience. As musicians, we tend to pull it off and make it happen. But you don't want to have to force somebody in that situation.
True.
Right. So, that the set list helps in time for the rhythm section and other musicians, just to give them a heads up, prepare for what's coming.
Yeah. It helps with the direction of the show.
The flow of the show too. Mm-hmm. I mean, you want the show to be great.
Yeah.
Right. And without that direction, most of the time calling it on the spot, it can work. It may end up being good, but you want it to be amazing. Mm-hmm. And having an idea of what tunes work for you and your musicians in what order will help the overall show.
Yeah. I always want your musicians to be in the right headspace. So you don't want to have them thinking and
right. Shuffling for music. If they're new, it's just, you want to eliminate as much problems as you can.
Right.
You don't want to create problems at the last minute.
Right. And plus, if there's no set list, it's like, the singer is on stage. You ever been in a situation where the singer is on stage and she's turning around? All right, let's do this. And the bass player's like, oh, I don't know that one.
Yep,
it's like, oh, well, do you know this? And it's just like
I've
the
seen
show
that.
is going on.
The show's going on, right? And that just doesn't look good. Is that part of the show? And it's like, I'm usually sitting at the piano like with my head down, like, I hope this isn't being recorded. Mm-hmm. And nowadays everything is recorded.
Everything is.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, this isn't going to look good. Right. But they're not really thinking that far ahead.
Right.
So having said that, we love you, vocalists. This episode is about removing the tension. So those of you listening, hopefully you've learned some things that musicians are thinking or experiencing and hoping to never experience again in their life. And we're going to keep it moving. Thanks for joining us. It's been another pleasurable episode here on this podcast. My name is Richard Johnson.
My name is Jeremiah Hunt.
This is Music Business.
What is this?
And sing a note for all of us. See you guys later. This program is partially supported by a grant from the Illinois Arts Council Agency.